Hi everybody, this is a video about one of my new favorite topics, cold plunging. I've had a few videos about this topic in the last little bit. I'm still planning to put together a video in the not too distant future on the cold plunge system that I put together for my own home, so please stay tuned for that. But today I wanted to talk about my recent experience, my experience from this morning, doing a cold shower instead of a cold plunge. Just before getting into that, as per usual, nothing that I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. So I've been cold plunging about 4 or 5 days a week for the past maybe 2 months now or so, give or take. I'm losing track of time. It's just been so exciting with all the cold plunging, but about 2 months or so, and I've been really loving it. I've mentioned in other videos, I've been seeing some really great effects in terms of recovering from jiu-jitsu classes and Muay Thai classes and weightlifting. So it's been just really lovely for my middle-aged body, getting back on track. And I just really enjoyed it, feel really invigorated. It's great, just has a mood elevating effect. It's just really lovely. The dopamine increases that they report in clinical trials definitely can attest to. Already good-mooded kind of guy in the first place, but just feel like extra, happy and motivated and whatnot for a few hours after doing the cold plunge. So this morning, just due to the circumstances around my busy life, kids running around, all that good stuff, I did not have time for a cold plunge, and I needed to take a shower in the morning. And so I thought, well, I will try a pure cold shower and see how that goes. I've been cold plunging in approximately 10 degrees Celsius water, which I think is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. So not crazy cold. There's no ice floating around in my cold plunge. I haven't been that hardcore yet, but I understand from the research literature that the therapeutic effects can be achieved around that level, and it's plenty cold. I'm shivering afterwards, so I'm happy in my 10-degree weather. Maybe I'll go lower in temperature eventually. And I've tested the temperature of my tap water, and it's about 10 degrees as well. So like, okay, this is going to be an interesting experiment. 3 minutes in a cold plunge, immerse basically up to my neck, versus 3 minutes in a shower. So what I found was that it was definitely very cold. I definitely prefer the cold plunge because there's just something about kind of, getting immersed and not being like sprayed with little, stray droplets coming off, as the water's hitting your body in the shower, little stray droplets going here and there. I mean, in the cold plunge in the last maybe 2 weeks or so, I've gotten to the habit of moving around in there. So when you first get into the cold plunge, you hunker down, you're just kind of, trying to get through it. I've been getting a lot more comfortable in the cold, and I'm finding like, oh, if I move my body around like every 10 seconds or so, I'll kind of do like a little bit of a, chicken wing flap to like let the water kind of circulate around into my armpits and move my legs back and forth, let the cold water circulate around, because of course my body is losing heat into the cold water, so it kind of creates there's sort of this barrier of warmer water around me if I'm staying perfectly still. So I'm trying to move around to get colder, and it's been definitely working. I've been getting a lot more red and pink getting out of the cold plunge since I started doing that. I've also been shivering inside of the cold plunge, and then it's taking me longer to warm up afterwards. So it's definitely working to cool me down more, which I'm happy with. I want those results. So getting in the shower, some fairly obvious observations. One is that when you're in the shower, I just have a regular, standard shower head. It's not one of those like, rain shower ones that douses you in water. One of those would probably work a lot better actually for a cold shower, but to have a standard shower head, so it's only spraying, one part of my body at a time. So definitely not getting the full immersive experience of a cold plunge. That was definitely one advantage of the full cold plunge versus using my cold shower. I also found the process, as I mentioned a second ago, less pleasant overall. It just seemed, I don't know, I prefer the experience of the cold plunge. I definitely got cold. I wasn't shivering in the shower, but I definitely did get cold, so I did notice that. But I didn't notice as much of a, just kind of like pick me up afterwards. I didn't feel as invigorated as I do when I get out of my full-blown cold plunge. And some of it may have been psychological. Like, admittedly, I was expecting the shower to not be as good. I've also had a visceral aversion to cold showers for a long time. We've learned about the benefits of cold showers, like ending your shower on cold, and naturopathy school, which graduated about 15 years ago. So that was beaten into me many years ago. It actually was in my first year of naturopathy school, so about 19 years ago or so that I learned about that. And like, I've just always hated doing it. I've never really done it regularly. It's just so unpleasant. So I'm not like naturally built to love the cold. Although as I'm doing more cold plunges, I'm not minding the cold nearly as much in my day-to-day life. It's been really nice. So I did go into the cold shower thinking like this probably isn't going to work as well. So there's certainly that potential sort of nocebo effect, so to speak. But overall, it was just not as gratifying of an experience. So I certainly wasn't cold and shivering for, I didn't really shiver much at all, and I wasn't cold for nearly as long as when I get out of the cold plunge. So I just wanted to make a quick video reporting on that. I understand there's a recent interview with Andrew Huberman. He has a wonderful podcast, the Huberman Labs podcast. He was interviewing this researcher. I can't remember her name now. She's from Denmark, where some of my family hails from, actually. I do not know how to pronounce her last name off the top of my head, but it's a great interview. It was posted within the last month, and definitely worth listening to if you're interested in cold plunging. But what I took from that interview, where they're both quite up on the research around cold plunging, my understanding is there isn't really any research comparing head-to-head cold plunge versus cold shower. What seems to be really important for what I took from that interview is making sure that a person feels uncomfortably cold while they are doing whatever the activity is. That seems to be the thing that's needed to get the health benefits. And hearing that, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, like uncomfortably cold, that sounds really uncomfortable. It doesn't sound good. And I agree. And again, I did not go into cold plunging having a love for being cold. I had an aversion to it. But what I can say from experience is that I had a full cold plunge yesterday, and it, getting in there, like it feels cold. Like you get in, you're like, yes, this is cold, but it's kind of like my brain doesn't mind it as much. My body is still uncomfortably cold. I'm not feeling good in there, but I kind of do feel good. I'm not enjoying it per se, but I do enjoy the benefits of it. I am kind of enjoying the process of it now. And I'm kind of almost like, in a weird way, like dissociating in a sense, where my brain knows, like, yeah, my body's cold, but like, it's just okay. Like I'm just okay with it. But not that I'm like meditating and doing some kind of like transcendental meditation where I'm like not actually in my body. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's physically unpleasant, but it's just not something that's really bothering me nowadays because I'm getting used to it. Now talk to me when I maybe jump into a 5 degrees Celsius cold plunge, which maybe is around 40 degrees ish Fahrenheit. A lot different, I'm sure. But for right now, I'm quite at peace with my 10-degree cold plunge. I'm really enjoying it. So I'll leave it there for now. If anybody has any questions or comments about this, please post in the comment section below. If you're cold plunging, if you love it, if you hate it, if you found little tricks, if there's anything that I said where like, oh, actually, like showers work way better for me, or I agree with you, cold plunge is better. I'd really be curious to hear what your thoughts are. So please post in the comment section below if you're so inclined, and I will leave it there for now.